I shot weddings on weekends, and I got obsessed with a bridesmaid I barely spoke to. I didn't have some meet cute. I didn't save her from anything. She brushed past me near the bar, asked if she needed to move, and I said, "You're good." That was the whole thing. Then I went home with a hard case full of cards and the kind of access nobody thinks about when they hire a guy with a camera. People think I deliver a highlight reel, and that's the end of it. What I actually get is raw footage, time codes, metadata, audio, venue layouts, vendor lists, parking passes, staff doors. I told myself I'd keep it digital. That was my first lie. I said I'd just rewatch, screenshot, track her socials, then accidentally be near the places she posted without ever messaging her. No DM, no follow, no contact. Like that made it clean. When I dumped the footage into my drive, my eyes started hunting her like a reflex. I opened the timeline and scrubbed past vows and speeches just to land on the shots where she drifted into frame. I clipped the pieces that weren't meant for anyone. Her rubbing the bridge of her nose while the bride got pinned, her stare going flat during a toast, her smile dropping for half a second when she thought nobody watched. I exported stills and named them boring. Date, camera A, camera B. I dropped them into a folder called exports so it looked like work. If you clicked it, it was just another job. If I clicked it, it was her. I didn't do it once. I did it every night for a week. I'd get home from my day job, microwave something, sit at the desk, and run the same 10 seconds until my eyes hurt. I told myself it wasn't like I was touching her. I wasn't showing anybody. I wasn't even saving the pretty shots. I wanted the tired ones, the honest ones, the ones that felt like I was catching her when her guard slipped. Weddings are basically doxing parties if you pay attention. Everybody posts everything. Mirrors, badges, bags, keys, street signs, receipts, venue tags. I started pulling details from the background like it was an edit problem. In one clip, someone filmed a dumb little story in a gym mirror and her reflection show behind them, and a sign over her shoulder gave me a logo and 2 letters. I paused, zoomed, searched it. In another post, she carried a delivery bag to her car and the side of it had a street name in big block letters. One sharp frame, and I had a neighborhood. Later, in another clip, she opened her car and the key fob flashed a logo I recognized. I looked it up, then looked up where that dealership sat, then started drawing a circle around her life like I had any right. I kept my hands clean the way creeps love to say they do. I didn't message her. I didn't like anything. I made a burner account with a fake name and a blank profile and just watched. I started timing my errands around her posts like I was on a schedule I didn't admit existed. She posted a coffee shop, so I drove there for caffeine. I parked across the street and sat behind the wheel until my neck stiffened. She posted a mural, so I took the long way home and passed it slow, eyes flicking to every sidewalk. I'd walk into places and pretend I belonged there, then bail the second I felt seen. I did all this without contact, and that made it worse because I got to tell myself I was disciplined. It bled into everything. I stopped answering friends because I didn't want anyone asking where I was. I'd cancel plans with my roommate, then snap at him when he called me out. One night, he walked in the living room while I had the laptop open on a pause frame, and he went, "Dude, what the hell are you watching?" I slammed the lid like it burned me and told him to mind his business. He said I was acting like a fucking weirdo. I told him he didn't understand my work. He said work doesn't make you hide your screen like that. I got loud. He got louder. It turned into this ugly argument where I wasn't defending privacy. I was defending the thrill of getting away with it. After he went to bed, I sat there shaking, angry at him for noticing me, angry at myself for caring. That should have been the moment I stopped. Instead, I just got quieter and more careful. Even on jobs, I got twitchy. My second shooter asked why I wanted extra cutaways of the bridal party, and I lied without blinking. I started hoarding little scraps the way I used to hoard batteries. A wide shot with her in the back. A moment where she looked down at her phone. A laugh that wasn't for the camera. I told myself I was building a story. I was really building a file. Then I crossed the line, and it wasn't dramatic. It was stupid. One venue forgot to collect my vendor key card. We wrapped late, staff stacked chairs. The coordinator looked dead on her feet, and I slid the card into my pocket with the rest of the junk. The next day I found it in my jeans, and I just held it. I could have driven it back. I could have mailed it. I could have texted, "Hey, you forgot this." I didn't. I told myself it was their mistake. I told myself I was busy. I told myself I'd return it next time I shot there. That next time didn't need to exist for what I wanted. A few nights later, I drove over there on an off night. No wedding, no music, just that quiet building hum. I parked away from the front like I was already hiding. I walked to the staff entrance with my shoulders tight and my phone in my hand like it could save me. I swiped the card and the lock clicked, clean and easy, like the building agreed with me. I stepped into the service hall, and the air smelled like bleach and old food. Carts sat lined up. A mop bucket leaned against a wall. Exit signs glowed like little green lies. I pushed into the ballroom, and the emptiness hit me hard. Chairs stacked. Tables border. Dance floor scuffed. A faint sweet stink of flowers that never fully leaves. I sat in the middle of the room and pulled up my footage on my phone, brightness low, volume off. Her face lit the screen. I watched the same scraps I'd stolen, and I told myself being in the place meant something. Like proximity meant permission. Like the room made it less wrong. I sat there until my legs went numb. A sound popped somewhere in the back hall, and my whole body jumped. I stood up fast, scanned the dark corners, listened. Nothing. Pipes, maybe. A door settling. I sat again anyway. That's what disgusts me now. How I chose it, even when fear tried to slap me awake. When I finally left, I didn't stroll out calm. I slipped back through the service corridor, swiped out, walked to my car without looking up, and drove home with sweat drying cold under my shirt. A week later, my client emailed me a link. No greeting. No, hope you're well. Just the link in one line. Is this you? I clicked and my stomach dropped. Neighborhood post. Doorbell come footage. My face, clear enough to see the way I glanced around before swiping the door. Then a still shot of my car with the plate sharp as print. The caption said, "If you hired this guy, ask for your raw files back." That sentence didn't just call me out. It weaponized my job. It told everyone exactly what I had that I wasn't supposed to have. Comments filled in fast. People tagging venues, warning brides, asking who else had seen me. Somebody posted my website. Somebody posted screenshots of my Instagram. I watched strangers build a map of my life the same way I'd built one for her. I wanted to scream at my screen, and I couldn't because the video was right there. I looked like a guy sneaking into a venue at night because that's what I was. I typed explanations and deleted them. Returning the card. Delete. Forgotten vendor access. Delete. The more I tried to justify it in my head, the uglier it got. I opened my hard drive and stared at the folder named Exports like it was going to bite me. I dragged it to the trash and my hand froze before I clicked. Not because I needed it for work, because part of me still wanted it. That's the part one can't forgive. I still shoot weddings. People still hand me deposits like I'm safe. I still walk into bridal suites and adjust lav mics and say perfect when nothing is perfect. But now I notice every phone pointed my way, every doorbell cam, every little lens over a cash register. I feel them the way you feel someone staring at the back of your neck. And every time I lift the camera, I feel the lens swing back toward me, like I trained the world to watch. I worked a 5 a.m. shift at a chain gym. I was hooked on pills and drowning in late fees. My role gave me keys to the lost and found cage and camera blind spots. And my plan was to skim wallets or earbuds from forgotten bins, flip them fast, and still smile at members like I was harmless. The thing people don't get about being broke is it's not one big disaster. It's 1,000 little ones that keep showing up with interest. Parking ticket you swear you'll handle. Then it turns into a boot. Phone bill you float for a week. Then your bank hits you with a fee for the privilege of failing. I'd show up before sunrise, unlock the front doors, turn on the TVs, and act like I loved helping people hit goals while my stomach chewed itself from withdrawal. At first, I only took stuff that felt victimless. A single AirPod from Pear, a cheap Fitbit charger, 20 bucks folded in a wallet like someone forgot cash existed. If the owner came back, I'd play sad and apologetic and check the bins with a straight face. If they didn't come back, I'd tell myself I was basically cleaning up. I'd do my sweep, then slip into the staff hallway, unlock the lost and found cage, and fish through the tubs like it was my pantry. There was a blind spot where you could stand for a few seconds and not exist. I lived in those seconds. I flipped things fast. There was a guy behind a strip mall by the dumpster who bought anything with a brand name and never asked questions. I'd hand him earbuds, watches, wallets, and he'd toss me crumpled bills. Then I'd walk back inside, spray down the counter, smile at members, and act like I was the harmless opener who knew everyone's name. I'd take that cash and buy pills before the shame caught up. The pills made the noise in my head go quiet. The pills also made me stupid. Every day, I told myself I'd stop after this one, after rent, after I caught up, after I slept like a normal person again. That routine made me cocky. It also made me mean. Not loud mean, quiet mean. The kind where you start looking at people's stuff like it's already yours. The kind where you spot a designer wallet and your brain doesn't think someone will be scared. It thinks 2 weeks of rent if it has the right cards. That's where I was when I found the insulin pen case. It sat in a locker cubby, bright label, emergency phone number printed right on it, right next to a nice wallet. I remember my eyes locking on the wallet, then the case, then back to the wallet, like my brain was scanning prices. I grabbed both without slowing down. I slid them under my cleaning caddy and walked out like I was doing rounds. I didn't even feel clever. I felt hungry. An hour later, the phone rang at the desk. A guy asked if anyone turned in a small medical case from the men's locker room. He didn't sound dramatic. He sounded careful, like he was trying not to panic in public. I asked him to describe it, pretending I needed details. He did. Same bright label, same emergency number. I told him I'd check and call back. I hung up and stared at the drawer where I'd already hidden it. My mouth went dry and I told myself the same bullshit I always told myself. He'll buy another, he'll have a spare, people lose stuff, it's not my problem. But it was different. I knew it was different. That label wasn't decoration. That number wasn't a cute touch. I knew what insulin was. I just didn't want that knowledge to land. If it landed, then what I did wasn't scamming a careless rich guy. It was taking something that could wreck someone. And once you admit that, you can't keep pretending you're just surviving. I didn't sell it. That's the sick part. I sold the wallet same day. Easy money. The insulin case stayed in my kitchen drawer like a curse. I'd open the drawer to grab a spoon and see it and slam it shut. I kept thinking, I'll bring it back tomorrow. I'll find it. I'll drop it at the desk when nobody's looking. Then I'd picture cameras, questions, my manager's eyes, and my stomach would flip and I'd do nothing. 2 days later, he came in. I didn't know it was him at first. He checked in like anybody else, but his face looked tight, like he was riding a headache. He kept rubbing his hands together. He went to the lockers, came out empty-handed, then headed for the treadmills. I watched him from behind the desk because by then I watched everybody, not for safety, for threat. I saw him start walking, then jogging, then slowing down like the treadmill turned into mud. He grabbed the front bar hard. His shoulders rose like he couldn't get air. He tried to step off and his foot clipped the side rail. He stumbled, corrected, then just dropped. Not a dramatic fall, more like his legs decided they weren't paid for this. He hit the belt and it dragged him a half second before someone slapped the stop button. People yelled. Someone screamed for staff. The trainer froze, then ran. I stood there with the phone in my hand, sweating through my polo, and I didn't move. The AED cabinet was on the wall 10 feet away. The emergency kit was in the desk. Training says you grab it and go. Training says you don't think. My brain did nothing but think. It flashed the stash in the desk drawer. The loose earbuds, the wallet cards I hadn't ditched yet, the pill bottle with no label, the little mess that would look like a crime scene if anyone started tearing through drawers. I pictured a paramedic snapping a drawer open, looking for gloves, and finding my whole secret. I pictured my assistant manager connecting dots and his face going cold. I pictured cops. I pictured withdrawal in a cell. I pictured my life collapsing right there in the lobby, and it scared me more than the guy on the floor. So I stayed behind the desk like a coward. I dialed 911 with shaking fingers. I gave the address. I kept my voice steady because that was the one thing I could still control. Out on the floor, strangers did what I should have done. A guy dropped to his knees and started compressions like he'd done it before. Someone ripped open the AED cabinet and fought the pads out of the plastic. People shouted diabetic and does he have his pen? And I felt my stomach turn because the answer was sitting in my kitchen drawer and I put it there. My assistant manager sprinted out of the office when he heard the commotion. He looked at the guy on the floor, then looked at me behind the desk, and his face changed. He didn't have time to argue, but I saw it. The question, the judgment, the disgust. He barked for space, for towels, for someone to bring the AED faster, and I just stood there holding the phone like it made me useful. Paramedics came in fast. They took over, hands moving, voices sharp. They asked how long he'd been down. They asked if anyone knew his meds. A woman said he'd been calling about his insulin case, and nobody found it. I heard that and my ears rang. They worked him until they couldn't pretend he was just tired. They loaded him up and pushed him out through the front doors while everyone watched like it was a movie they didn't choose. After, the gym did what it always does. They called it a medical episode. They wiped the belt. They sprayed cleaner like it could erase the moment. They reopened the cardio row. Corporate emailed a bland script about member well-being and reviewing procedures. My manager made me pull camera clips for the incident report, and I had to watch the fall on a loop while my hand shook on the mouse. Every replay felt like I was rewinding my own decision. My manager pulled me into the office and asked why I didn't grab the AED. I mumbled something about calling 911, about staying at the desk, about protocol. He stared at me like he wanted to call me what I was. Then he swallowed it, because corporate hates mess more than it hates tragedy. The next few shifts, he hovered. He did a surprise check of the lost and found log. He counted items in the cage and made me sign my initials next to the list like we were in kindergarten. He hinted, real casual, that if anything weird kept happening, he'd pull more footage and see what's up. I snapped at him once when he kept asking if I was okay because I could feel him watching me, waiting for me to slip. We argued in that tiny office with the door half open, my voice too sharp, his voice low and nasty. He threatened my hours. I threatened to quit. Neither of us meant it. He needed coverage. I needed pills. At home, I tried to swallow a pill and it stuck to my tongue. I drank water and it still tasted wrong. My dealer texted me like nothing happened, like I wasn't carrying a body in my head. I opened the kitchen drawer, pulled out the insulin case, and stared at the emergency phone number like it was accusing me. I thought about driving it back and dropping it at the door before sunrise. Then I pictured the cameras catching my car, the timestamp, the questions. I shoved it back in the drawer so hard the silverware jumped. Nobody ever came back for it. Nobody ever knocked on my door. The guy didn't show up again. The flowers by the water fountain wilted and got tossed. Members kept running on that treadmill like nothing happened. I get overdraft texts mid-shift and feel my pulse spike like money could excuse me. I scrub my hands raw and still smell that lemon cleaner. I kept working the 5 a.m. shift, still smiling, still stealing smaller things again, because addiction doesn't care about your guilt. I went home, chewed a pill, and felt my mouth go dry because it didn't even taste like relief anymore. Just proof I turned into a fucking parasite in a branded polo. I detailed trade-ins at used car lot. I needed to keep my job and avoid cops sniffing around my old charge. My role gave me access to every messy interior before it hit the showroom, and my plan was to clean fast, dump anything personal in the compactor, and never ask questions about where a car came from. That was the deal I made with myself. You don't find stuff here, you erase it. The office had a little lost and found locker, but using it meant paperwork, and paperwork meant my name attached to something that could turn into a phone call, a report, a cop walking in with that polite smile. I didn't want any of that. I wanted clean cars, quiet shifts, and a paycheck that didn't come with questions. A late model sedan rolled in on a Tuesday, still warm, like it had been driven straight off the street. The salesman tossed the keys in my cart and fed me that fake clean story. Cash for clunker. 2-year-old car, clunker sure. The trunk popped, and I stared because it was packed with black trash bags, tied tight, stacked like somebody loaded them fast and angry. Not luggage, not groceries, trash bags. The plastic had scuffs like they'd been dragged on concrete, and one bag had a little tear where something sharp pushed against it. I didn't open them. I didn't want to know what counted as junk to whoever owned this car. Inside, the usual mess. Fries ground in a carpet, gum smeared under the console, a sweet air freshener trying to cover sweat, and something sour. I vacuumed, scraped, wiped, kept moving. The service manager came by and started writing me about time like he always does. He pointed at the sedan like it was a contest and said I was moving slow. I said I was working. He leaned in, close enough to fog my ear, and reminded me I was lucky to have a job with my history. That word, history, always means record. I snapped that I wasn't lucky. I was doing the work nobody else wanted. He snapped back that my attitude was why people like me stay stuck, and he said it loud enough that the techs nearby looked over. I swallowed the urge to swing on him and went faster because losing my shit is how I end up back in a cell. I pulled the passenger seat forward for the under-seat sweep, reaching blind like I've done 1,000 times. My fingers snagged on cold metal and hair. Not lint, not fuzz. Actual strands wrapped tight, stuck with dry grime like it had been yanked off and stomped into the carpet. I dragged it out, and it was a cheap charm bracelet, silver-colored junk, a heart charm, and a little star. The hair twisted around the chain so tight I had to pick at it through the glove. My stomach flipped because hair like that doesn't end up under a seat, all wrapped around jewelry by accident. Then my hand hit paper. A folded flyer jammed against the seat rail, stiff from dirt. I opened it and saw a woman's face with missing stamped across it in big block letters. That word punched right through the shop noise. I read enough to catch the date in the last scene. It wasn't old, recent. My mouth went dry and my hands went stupid, like they forgot how to work. I froze. Then I got practical in the worst way. If I turned it in, cops would ask why I noticed, why I touched it, why my name was on the work order. They'd run me and see the old charge and decide I'm not a guy doing his job. I'm a guy to squeeze. I've sat in that chair. I know the smile they wear when they already picked their story and they just need you to help them write it. I also knew my boss would love it, because then he gets to act righteous while pointing at me like I'm the rod in his shop. I stared at the work order clipped to my cart, my name printed clean on top like a label. A coworker walked past and saw me holding the flyer. He smirked and said if I found cash under there, I better share. I told him to fuck off. He laughed and kept walking, but the joke landed like a warning. People here don't need facts. They need a rumor. He's always finding stuff. He keeps things. He's sketchy. Then the boss watches you. Then someone checks cameras. Then a cop shows up just to ask. And even if I did everything right, I'm still the guy with a record, so the questions stick to me. So I did what I always do when something threatens to put a spotlight on me. I made it disappear. I hit the bracelet with degreaser and a rag until it shone, like cleaning it could scrub the feeling off my hands. The hair fought me. It clung in the links and snapped in little strands when I pulled. I kept pulling anyway, jaw tight, breathing through my nose, trying not to gag. I folded the flyer smaller and smaller until it was a hard, ugly square. I shoved both into one of those little plastic parts bags from my cart, twisted it, and tied it off. I finished the sedan fast after that, too fast. My eyes kept jumping to my pocket like the flyer was burning through fabric. The manager came back, found a smear on the door panel, and started in again, louder this time, like he wanted everyone to hear. I told him I'd fix it. He told me I was always defensive. I told him maybe he should stop hunting for reasons to talk down to me. He threatened to write me up for disrespect and said he didn't care if I ended up back where I belong. That was the exact moment I decided I wasn't giving anyone a reason to remember my name. When the bay cleared, I hauled the trunk bags to the compactor. They were heavier than they should have been for junk. One thumped like something solid shifted inside. Another made a dull clink like metal on metal. I didn't rip them open. I didn't peek. I didn't do anything that would make me responsible for what I saw. I tossed them in. The compactor sat back there like a big green mouth, humming and waiting, always ready to chew up evidence and spit out nothing. Then I took the small bag out of my pocket. Bracelet and flyer. My hand didn't move for a second. I stood there staring at the opening, feeling that stupid moment of choice stretch out. I could have walked to the office. I could have said this was in the sedan. I could have been the guy who did the right thing and dealt with the mess later. For a heartbeat, I pictured it. My boss rolling his eyes, the sales guys gawking, somebody calling the police, my name on a report, my past dragged out like it matters more than the fact someone's missing. And all I could think was, I can't take that heat. Not here, not with my record, not with cops who love a simple villain. So I tossed it. The press came down and crushed it with a crack that sounded like a bone snapping, quick and final. The sound went straight into my teeth. I flinched and then just stared, like the machine might undo itself and give me a second chance. It didn't. The little bag vanished into mashed trash and whatever the hell was in those trunk bags. I walked back inside and washed my hands until they went red, like soap could fix anything. That night, the missing flyer showed up on my feed. Same face, same bracelet described in the comments. People posted prayers. People posted theories. People posted, I saw that car, bullshit. And there was again, silver char bracelet, heart and star, sentimental, please message if found. I sat on my couch with a beer in my hand and felt the horror land slow and heavy. Not a jump scare feeling, a sick, sinking weight. I didn't just avoid trouble, I erased a breadcrumb. I scrolled past it, then scrolled back, then scrolled past again like my thumb could undo the last 12 hours. I didn't sleep. I kept hearing that crack. I kept seeing my hands wiping the bracelet clean like I was helping somebody hide her. I opened my phone and hovered over the call screen, then pictured the questions. Where exactly did you find it? Why did you touch it? Why didn't you report it immediately? Which car? Which work order? What's your name? And then the quiet shift when they pull my record. I know that shift. It turns you into a suspect before you finish your sentence. I sat there until dawn with my phone in my hand and my stomach twisting, and I did nothing. Morning came anyway. I showered, dressed, drove in, and walked past that same sedan now, sitting near the front with a price sheet taped inside like it was just inventory. My stomach rolled. I wanted to grab the keys and drive it into a wall just to stop it from being sold like nothing happened. I didn't. I clocked in. The manager tossed me the next set of keys and told me not to drag ass. I nodded and rolled my cart toward the next filthy interior. Breathing shallow like that helps. That's what I can't shake. Not a monster in the dark. Just me, standing at a compactor, choosing the safest thing for myself and calling it survival. I didn't just avoid trouble. I deleted someone's last breadcrumb and went to work the next morning like it was nothing.